Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Todd Obert, President and CEO of Productive Corporation. Alongside me here in his virtual hairnet is Pete Greco, our VP of Sales and Technology. Today, we are going to talk about Locky and ransomware, what you can do to prevent it, and a bunch of different ways on how you can pay super quickly. Just kidding. Wanted to make sure you were listening, and if you have been to our events in the past, you know how we do it. We like to get right straight into the heart of the real deal content and keep all the fluff on the side. To that end, we will meet Productive in 1 minute, and then I'll turn the microphone over to Pete Greco, who's going to talk about Dridex. I don't know whether it's Mr. or Mrs. Dridex, and what is Locky. We're going to talk about the types of campaigns, the types of attacks that we're seeing or hacks, and some things you can do from a best practice standpoint to prevent it. But for now, let's meet Productive. So who is Productive Corporation, saith you? And I appreciate the way you said that. Productive Corporation is a security and storage software and services provider specifically for mid-sized companies. We have a dedicated staff that can help you with technical questions, licensing, pre-sales, expertise, all sorts of service-related implementation questions so that you do not have to navigate the World Wide Web all by your lonesome. We also implement, test, and optimize the products we sell. In addition, we do security assessments, penetration tests, that full VA. We also work at the gateway on that UTM firewall and config and optimize it. In addition, we create all sorts of content for you, a third-party perspective for products and knowledge in the mid-market. You can find this at productivecorp.com/content. Alternately, go to our YouTube channel, which is Productive Content. The bottom line is we have the resources to help you, whether it's implementation assistance, assessment, licensing, optimization services, help at productivecorp.com, 800-726-4099. We are here to help. And one of the ways that we do that is by putting on these knowledge series. Our customers asked us a long time ago, hey, you guys are out working with customers, doing implementation, seeing what's happening out in the real world, and you're selling the technology products and implementing them. What's the deal? So we came up with the knowledge series as a way to talk about relevant topics in the IT space to help you guys, right? Add back to the community. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Pete Greco, who, if you were on the broadcast at the top of the show, you know he is our VP of Sales and Technology. He has helped thousands of customers with endpoint and gateway security and other security initiatives. He knows the good, the bad, the ugly. He is really the Clint Eastwood of security technology. So let's give a warm virtual round of applause for Mr. Pete Greco. Pete?
All right. Thanks a lot, Todd, and thanks everybody for hopping on with us today. We really appreciate your time and appreciate you spending a little bit of that time with us. So let's get right into it. Dridex is an evolution of Crydex and the Zeus Trojan, and it really started taking off in 2014. There was a major takedown operation in October of last year that the FBI and the UK National Crime Agency worked together on to sinkhole thousands of compromised machines and remove them from the Dridex botnet. And it actually worked for about 2 days. And then it actually got even worse. Pretty crazy. Compared to its competitive malware products, Dridex accounts for nearly half of all infections targeting finance-related targets. So they're having a huge amount of success. With a big repository of candidates, they're able to infect about 100,000 machines per day, which helps them expand the reach. And this is not sending out 100,000 emails. This is actually 100,000 infections, right? And because this is a proven malware delivery mechanism, it's an ideal candidate to move to the next phase. And they're now targeting the standard moneymaker ransomware, right? Specifically Locky, which is what you all came to learn a little bit about. So this is what it looks like if you get it, effectively letting you know that you've been compromised and helping you pay them their Bitcoin, which is ranging from half a Bitcoin up to 2. It seems like half to 1 is kind of the standard, but some instances of up to 2 Bitcoin, and not really sure how they're determining which amount they're going to charge, which is pretty interesting and something that researchers are still trying to figure out. Bitcoin currently trading at 443, and about 50% of victims are paying, so it's a pretty significant cash cow. Once you've seen the previous screen, this is now what your My Documents and your network shares are gonna look like. As you can see, every file will have the Locky extension, letting you know that it's encrypted and making it easy for you to give them the proper code so that when you pay the ransom, you get your files released. Right? Here are some file types that Locky seeks out, and you can expect this list to grow. They're adding new file types in all the time, right? So how did this happen? If it happens to you, right, lots of stuff went wrong, first of all. First and most likely, the end user received an email with a malicious link or an infected attachment, and this started a process, right? So 3 common campaigns. There will probably be a 4th by the time we're done looking at this slide. Right, so campaign 1, spear phishing email that makes it look like something you should take action on. Most common is updating your banking information or receiving an invoice or delinquent invoice. Most recently, I've seen many Word document resumes, and when we're in the process of hiring, these are easy ones to click on. We're expecting to get these kinds of files. We don't know who we're expecting to get them from, so it makes a hirer a very easy target. Clicking on this is going to launch a macro-infected document, typically MS Word related. From there, a script is going to run, which will start seeking out the extensions that we showed a minute ago. That end user has access to. This includes network shares as well. This is something that other ransomwares haven't been able to figure out yet, but Locky is already there. And these network shares don't have to be mapped drives. They just need to be shares on the network that the ransomware can find over the network. So limiting permissions or making sure that you really have permissions only for the folks that absolutely need access to those documents is a must to make sure you're protecting that data. Campaign number 2, really the same thing but with a zip attachment. This helps defeat folks who are scanning Word docs and such in the cloud or at the gateway. Disabling scanning of zips for performance bump can be taken advantage of with this method. And once the zip file is opened, typically a VB script, a document search, and then the attack is complete. And then campaign number 3, and this one includes something that we keep referencing in webinar after webinar, and that's the nuclear exploit kit. This starts the same way, spear phishing attempt or drive-by download, which contains the nuclear EK, which is a clever little program that I like to equate to reverse patch scanning. You know, instead of plugging the holes, it figures out which vulnerabilities you're susceptible to, including multiple Office installs for both 32 and 64-bit versions, Microsoft Silverlight, Adobe, Java, and Flash. And if you're one of the folks that is only patching Microsoft products, this is where you get nailed. So a little bit about nuclear EK. It effectively scans the machine in a non-malicious way before it starts the attack. And this allows it to actually not attack if it can't be effective, which then hides detection. Or it attacks correctly the first time, allowing more successful detection evasion. And sometimes your endpoint product won't pick it up until the attack is complete, which at this point, it's now too late to reverse the damage, though it may be able to stop the spread. Once the files are encrypted, the malware still needs to be cleaned to ensure that Locky doesn't spread to other users, but nothing reverses the encryption. This is where it's important to have data backed up for critical files and folders. Make sure those backups are protected with limited or no access, because encrypted backups can be re-encrypted. The good news is that your backup extension hopefully is not on that search list, but you should make sure, and you should stay up to date on what's going on there. Easier said than done, right, is don't enable macros. I use a lot of Excel macros, so not a good choice for me, and some of you may be in the same boat, right? So next thing, patch, patch, patch. And if you don't get out of the Microsoft house in regards to patching, you're still going to be widely exposed. And I'm really referring to a lot of those very common third-party products that we referenced earlier, you know, Adobe-related, Oracle-related. You got a lot of stuff out there for Apple, right? All of these things have exploits, not necessarily related to Locky, but have exploits and critical vulnerabilities that are being taken advantage of. Make sure you're reviewing your email policies and reviewing spam that is passed on to the end user. What you're looking for here is the kind of spam that is coming in below your admin-only barrier, and when do we lower the barrier so that more of that is going into the admin quarantine versus the end user quarantine. The more stuff that goes into the admin quarantine, right, can possibly be getting more calls from your end user saying, did you see this email in spam? I'm looking for an email that I haven't gotten, but it's going to trigger getting more of that junk that's been bypassing you into that admin quarantine, where you're going to be raising your overall protection. From a network protection standpoint, we've already mentioned patching, but we need web protection. We need a solid UTM or next-gen firewall. We need solid endpoint. We need device control. And we need to see wider adoption of sandboxing and other threat containment type systems. If you got Locky, more than one thing failed, and that's where we need to think about the security layers to filter out the garbage in the same way that a charcoal filter does it with water, right? Multiple layers, multiple levels, multiple spots to get out those particulates. We want to do the same thing with our network. Keep in mind, you have to be 100% lucky all of the time, right? Locky only needs to get lucky occasionally with their email campaigns to make money, right? But what are the odds of one person out of 1,000 clicking on a well-crafted phishing attempt? Pretty significant is what the statistics are implying. So before we take the easy route and start blaming end users, which I'm not opposed to at all, we have to make sure that they're educated. We have to have a little empathy that some of this email is quite nicely crafted. And if you take a quick look, you may miss that Capital One 365 actually says Capital On 365, or Capital 136, my personal favorite. And if you just take a quick glance, your brain is willing to fill in the gaps for you. So the first time I've seen, and I've gotten lots of these Capital One emails, the first time I saw the one that said Capital 136, didn't even think twice until I took a closer look, right? Which my closer look might have just been a click for a lot of folks. So here's some products that we love that can help out with ransomware. We would love to chat with you all more about what's going on in your environment, figure out what you're currently doing, what's working, help you identify potential gaps and issues, and help you get on your way to improving and increasing your security, or help you work on a plan to stay on top of security. Your productive rep will be reaching out to you after the event. Would love to get on and have a deeper conversation with anybody who's interested. Really appreciate your time today. Look forward to seeing you on a future productive event. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.